Hello, welcome to the 14th week of the Henry George Daily Devotional. We are beginning Book VII, Justice of the Remedy. Yes, it wouldn't be of much use if the remedy were not just. And I want to reread this quotation. We are made for cooperation, like feet, like hands, like eyelids, like the rows of the upper and lower teeth. From the Stoic Emperor. I'm guessing that's Marcus Antony, or what is that? Marcus Aurelius? The Stoic Emperor. Or is that's yeah, Marcus Aurelius, the Stoic Emperor. Got it, nailed it. Chapter 1, Injustice of Private Property and Land. Chapter 2, The Enslavement of Laborers, the ultimate result of private property in land. Chapter 3, Claim of Landowners to Compensation. Chapter 4, Property in Land, Historically Considered. Chapter 5, of Property in Land in the United States. Yeah, all the modern Georgists, when they talk about implementing a land value tax, usually try to bundle it with some kind of like, alright, well, we have all these people who own a bunch of land, we should compensate them. I think the only reason we should compensate them is like purely out of pragmatics, if that's like what will help change the system. But it's like okay, one situation is somebody has a whole bunch of unjustly gotten wealth, and then it's like, okay, well, they should just, they shouldn't just get to keep it because it was unjustly gotten. But if like when you're negotiating with a terrorist, not saying that landlords are terrorists, but I am saying that landlords are sometimes terrorists. You are willing to sort of compromise. So yeah, we could give them a little bit, but I don't think we have to. The other art factor would be like, you know, a person worked hard for, and justly earned some amount of their wealth, probably not even, they probably didn't, their wages were not even a just amount, but whatever, they were able to save up. And then because the system was broken, they spent a bunch of money buying a house and some land. And then we switched the rules out from underneath them. That does seem a little bit different. A little more like what happens when the situation's a little more like you went shopping and because you finally saved up enough money to buy some cool new shoes, and then you found them on sale somewhere and you're super excited, so you got them, and then you found out that those shoes were actually stolen. I feel like there's different like common law practices that have developed around what to do about people who have unknowingly purchased stolen goods. I sort of think a lot of homeowners um, fall into this category of like investing in their home as like purchasers of a stolen good, whereas big old corporations or massive landlords or urban landlords, I view those as those are the robber barons. All right, Montesquieu has a little quote here. He says, "Justice is a relation of congruity which really subsists between two things. This relation is always the same, whatever being considers it, whether it be God or an angel, or lastly, a man." That's very interesting. I was just having a discussion with a friend about a person's relationship with God versus a person's relationship with a friend. You know, if I accident, if I, well, if I, in a moment of meanness, uh, insult my friend or take his French fries, um, I can give back the French fries. I can make up for stealing the French fries or apologize for saying the rude thing. And there's a sense of like restoring the justice there. Uh, and then also like if a friend stole some French fries from me, depending on the friend, I might still stay friends with them, even if they don't ever give me back any French fries or apologize or anything. It's just be like, well, yeah, he was an asshole. It would be nice if he apologized, but he didn't. And I was talking about this with the idea that the smallest sin is an infinite separation from a perfect God. And so some Christians say that alone would be enough to separate you from God, and so you in some way deserve some kind of eternal damnation. I know in practice it's hard to imagine of a person who lived their life and only ever did one little bad thing, like stole some French fries, and nothing else ever bad, because you imagine the person who steals French fries. I mean, that's not even a small thing. Stealing French fries is kind of like dramatic. I don't know. Whatever. This is not a podcast about eternal matters. This is a podcast about earthly matters. Our YouTube channel. Let's read Henry George, Chapter 1, The Injustice of Private Property in Land. When it is supposed to abolish private property in land, the first question that will arise is that of justice. Okay. When it is proposed to abolish private property in land, the first question that will arise is that of justice. Though often warped by habit, superstition, and selfishness into the most distorted forms, the sentiment of justice is yet fundamental to the human mind. And whatever dispute arouses the passions of men, the conflict is sure to rage not so much as to the question, is it wise, as to the question, is it right? That's true. That's interesting. Maybe. There's that meme going around. You were so busy thinking about whether or not you could, you didn't ask to stop. You didn't stop to think or ask if you should. So that would say that all these technologists, AI researchers, are only concerned with what's possible, and they're not asking either is it wise or is it right, to be honest. Whatever. Well, let's keep reading. This tendency of popular discussions to take an ethical form has a cause. It springs from a law of the human mind. It rests upon a vague and instinctive recognition of what is probably the deepest truth we can grasp. Oh, we're getting serious. That alone is wise, which is just. That alone is enduring, which is right. In the narrow scale of individual actions and individual life, this truth may be often obscured, but in the wider field of national life, it everywhere stands out. Ooh. This reminds me of the gravitational and inertial mass being equivalent. Anyway, it's a silly little physics thing. It's not that silly, but that alone is wise, which is just. That alone is enduring, which is right. I don't know if I can agree that that alone is enduring, which is right, because you got to say, here we are in the year 2024, and a lot of things have endured which do not seem right. But I can understand if you want to define wisdom as being an application of justice. Yeah. But I cannot see how you can say only what is right is enduring. I mean, maybe I think I do believe that the long arc of history tends towards justice, and that is one of the most hopeful sentiments I can pretty much express when we talk about Georgism in general. Like even if all this is wrong, even if George is somehow wrong, um, I do think we'll tend toward like I think humankind and life in general. Well, I don't even know about life in general. I don't know. There's such a distinction between us, humankind, and all other life, which just sort of seeks to grow. Uh, like all other life just seems to seek to grow and recreate. I mean, I guess that's taken from a species by species level. I don't know. We're getting really chatty today, aren't we? I bow to this arbitrament. Wow, that's a word I don't recall. The settling of a dispute by an arbitrator. Makes sense. I bow to this arbitrament and accept this test. Hmm. If our inquiry into the cause which makes low wages and pauperism the accompaniments of material progress has led us to a correct conclusion, it will bear translation from terms of political economy into terms of ethics, as the source of social evils shows a wrong. Okay, yeah, I accept the wisdom justice connection. I'm not sure I accept the endurance connection. Okay. If it will not do this, translate from econ to ethics, the eco-ethic combo. If it will not do this, it is disproved. If it will do this, it is proved by the final decision. If private property in land be just, then is the remedy I propose a false one. If, on the contrary, private property in land be unjust, then is this remedy the true one. Yeah, yeah, I could have just started right here. Let's just do what's just. What constitutes the rightful basis of property? What is it that enables a man justly to say of a thing, it is mine? Yeah, a lot of people aren't into this kind of discussion. They purely want to talk about efficiency. I think the whole field of economics in this contemporary world like tends to avoid discussing anything in terms of ethics and morality. They purely want to talk about efficiency and incentives because everyone, I don't know, everyone's a coward maybe. Also, from a recent podcast that I listened to in the Henry George program, there was an esteemed economist there talking about how economists are not trained at all really in philosophy or in uh, constructive debate, the idea of actually discussing with other people with opposing viewpoints and a mutual attempt to understand one another and find truth. Economists simply kind of want to present and move on, or something like that. All right, George says, we're going to talk about the rightful basis of property. He says, from what springs the sentiment which acknowledges his exclusive right as against all the world? Is it not primarily the right of a man to himself, to the use of his own powers, to the enjoyments of the fruits of his own exertions? Is it not this individual right which springs from and is testified by the natural facts of individual organization? The fact that each particular pair of hands obey a particular brain and are related to a particular stomach. The fact that each man is a definite, coherent, independent whole, which alone justifies individual ownership. As a man belongs to himself, so his labor, when put in concrete form, belongs to him. Alright, so if this is what we're taking as our basis, which is pretty key, or often comes up in these kinds of discussions. Of course, in a contemporary's viewpoint, the things that naturally come to mind are my body, my choice. So even this simple claim, when working it out, is a little bit tricky, right? We just went through a pandemic. And there's this issue of like my body, my choice. Should you have to be vaccinated? Should you not have to be vaccinated? Abortion. What is your body? What is your choice? I don't know. You tell me. Um, yeah, I don't know. I feel like there was some other my body, my choice thing I was thinking about. I don't know, but both people could or everyone could accept this idea and then disagree about its application in particular moments. Oh yeah, I guess the other question is self-damaging behavior, smoking cigarettes, doing other kinds of drugs. Um, those do rely on some produced good, so that would be a little bit separate. But then behaviors such as sex work, my body, my choice, that's the other like topic. So yeah, and sometimes it's brought up that this my body, like you don't, no, you can't even legally shouldn't be able to like sell yourself into slavery because it's impossible to actually transfer rights to your body to another being. That's just not. That's against nature, right? Like it's not, or it's not even. It's just not possible. Like you can say whatever you want, but no matter what, like society accepts and believes, and we all think it is true that you still actually own your body. Um, but this is sort of presuppositional. All right. And for this reason, George writes, uh, that which makes a man, that which makes or produce. I'm pretty sure this is very long. Yeah, we're not making it through this one today, friends and family, especially because I have just so much to talk about. And for this reason, that which a man makes or produces is his own, as against all the world, to enjoy or to destroy, to use, to exchange, or to give. Yeah, this then comes into the idea of inheritance can touch here. No one else can rightfully claim it, and his exclusive right to it involves no wrong to anyone else. Uh, Another thing that then brushes up against this is you know, I come up with the idea of a flying dog and make a video game about a flying dog. I have a right to that. I've made that. But if somebody else then makes their own flying dog, am I allowed to seek, like, can I claim damages that they've somehow wronged me? I mean, I can still use my flying dog video game just as much as I want, or maybe I make a flying dog plushie, and I call my flying dog whatever I want to call my flying dog. Then I can deny anyone else from making a plushie that looks like it. What if I'm just sitting here and I thought, oh, it'd be really fun to name my dog Charizard, and I had never ever read or watched any cartoon or played any other video game. That just came to me, and then suddenly, the Pokemon Company comes knocking on my door and wants to whack me on the head for naming my plushy dog Charizard. I don't know. Anyway. Thus, George writes, there is to everything produced by human exertion a clear and indisputable title to exclusive possession and enjoyment, which is perfectly consistent with justice as it descends from the original producer, in whom it vested by natural law. Oh, I just realized I dreamt that I met William F. Buckley. And then I started talking to him, and then he's like, no, that was my father, William F. Buckley. And I was like, oh, well, are you a Georgist or something? And he's like, yeah. And I don't know. That was all my dream included. Just sharing. The pen with which Henry George is writing is justly his. No other human being can rightfully lay claim to it. For in me is the title of the producers who made it. It has become mine because transferred to me by the stationer, to whom it was transferred by the importer, who obtained the exclusive right to it by transfer from the manufacturer, in whom, by the same process of purchase, vested the rights of those who dug the material from the ground and shaped it into a pen. Thus my exclusive right of ownership in the pen springs from the natural right of the individual to the use of his own faculties. Now, this is not only the original source from which all ideas of exclusive ownership arise, as is evident from the natural tendencies of the mind to revert to it when the idea of exclusive ownership is questioned, and the manner in which social relations develop, but it is necessarily the only source. There can be to the ownership of anything no rightful title which is not derived from the title of the producer and does not rest upon the natural right of the man to himself. There can be no other rightful title because, first, there is no other natural right from which any other title can be derived, and second, because the recognition of any other title is inconsistent with and destructive of this. For first, what other right exists which the rights to the exclusive possession of anything can be derived, save the right of a man to himself? With what other power is man by nature clothed, save the power of exerting his own faculties? How can he in any other way act upon or affect material things or other men? Paralyze the motor nerves, and your man has no more external influence or power than a log or stone. From what else, then, can the right of possessing and controlling things be derived? If it spring not from the man himself, from what can it spring? Nature acknowledges no ownership or control in man, save as the result of exertion. In no other way can her treasures be drawn forth, her powers directed, or her forces utilized or controlled. She makes no discriminations among men, but is to all absolutely impartial. She knows no distinction between master and slave, king and subject, saint and sinner. All men to her stand upon an equal footing and have equal rights. She recognizes no claim but that of labor, and recognizes that without respect to the claimant, if a pirate spread his sails, the wind will fill them, as well as it will fill those of a peaceful merchantman or missionary bark. If a king and a common man be thrown overboard, neither can keep his head above water except by swimming. Birds will not come to be shot by the proprietor of the soil any quicker than they will come to be shot by the poacher. Fish will bite or will not bite at a hook, in utter disregard as to whether it is offered them by a good little boy who goes to Sunday school or a bad little boy who plays truant. Grain will grow only as the ground is prepared and the seed is sown. It is only at the call of labor that ore can be raised from the mine. The sun shines and the rain falls alike upon just and unjust. The laws of nature are the decrees of the Creator. There is written in them no recognition of any right save that of labor. And in them is written broadly and clearly the equal right of all men to the use and enjoyment of nature, to apply to her by their exertions, and to receive and possess her reward. Hence, as nature gives only to labor, the exertion of labor in production is the only title to exclusive possession. Second, this right of ownership that springs from labor excludes the possibility of any other right of ownership. If a man be rightfully entitled to the produce of his labor, then no one can be rightfully entitled to the ownership of anything which is not the produce of his labor, or the labor of someone else from whom the right has passed to him. I think you could attack this at this point of transfer. Like if the core right of something is who made it. Yeah, I mean, I guess it's something else to grant the ability to give things away. But anyway, this is all pretty presuppositional, and I don't have any problem with accepting the idea of trade or gifts. And then once you give something, it is not yours. Or if you trade something, the thing you traded is away is not yours. I'm okay with that. But if somebody says without that, if you don't believe that, everything, I don't know, crumbles, then you can't really have trade. If production gives to the producer the right to exclusive possession and enjoyment, there can rightfully be no exclusive possession and enjoyment of anything not the production of labor. And the recognition of private property in land is a wrong. For the right to the produce of labor cannot be enjoyed without the right to the free use of the opportunities offered by nature. And to admit the right of property in these is to deny the right of property in the produce of labor. When non-producers can claim as rent a portion of the wealth created by producers, the right of the producers to the fruits of their labor is to that extent denied. There is no escape from this position. To affirm that a man can rightfully claim exclusive ownership in his own labor, when embodied in material things, is to deny that anyone can rightfully claim exclusive ownership in land. To affirm the rightfulness of property in land is to affirm a claim which has no warrant in nature, as against a claim founded in the organization of man and the laws of the material universe. I'm going to end there, which does really make it seem like a Georgist society would just let everybody trespass everywhere and do whatever they want all the time. But I'll tell you that he does think that you can have functional, exclusive use of a piece of land if you compensate society for it. And through a land value tax, we consider that like a fair trade of society giving up that use of land to that person as a trade between a group of people who together have a claim to the land, deciding that they will willingly give it up in exchange for some amount of wealth. All right, that is it for today.